remains in
Single
place.
payer!
Single payer!
Yes, sir.
Government
Explain to us why the Congress has not been able to pass a budget for the last couple of years. What's it going to take now to get some kind of budget on record so we know what the world we're doing? All I know is that our bills keep going.
Yeah, and the question is how come we haven't passed a budget for the past several years? It's been over 800. The House has passed a budget. Just several months ago, the House passed a budget. The Senate hasn't passed a budget in over 800 days. And so I mean, it's over 800 days since they haven't. We built the Pentagon in less time than it's taken the Senate to pass a budget. And so without both houses doing it, then you end up in a situation where you can't get the budget through. And that's, so unfortunately, it's hung up there. So thank you. And there was a question right here that I told somebody I'd get back to next, and I didn't, so I apologize.
Thank you. My name is Chuck Peterson. I've been appreciative.
Can't hear you.
One moment, please.
I apologize. We're talking.
Thank you. Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. I've been a precinct committeeman and know a little bit about politics. I've been an election judge for 15 to 20 years. And here's my question to you. You're all for local energy, and I am too. But what about knowing what's in the chemicals for fracking? And what about blowing the tops of mountains off to get the coal? Can you do, or will you do, anything about these two items?
Thank you.
Yeah, and I believe that actually decisions on fracking ought to be regulated at the state level. Disclosure ought to be regulated at the state level. And in the past couple of days, there have been reports in both the Denver Post and some other local media outlets that talked about a plan at the state legislature to disclose, require disclosure of what's in fracking fluid. And so I think that's going to happen at the state level. And I don't know if you heard John Hickenlooper say, John Hickenlooper basically said there's no way that the chemicals that are in fracking fluid would contaminate water. That's what John Hickenlooper said.
Yeah, right.
That's in the paper, so you can read it in the paper. I'm not making that up, so you can just read it in the paper.
Well, he's wrong.
Yeah. And the second part on mountaintop mining, in Colorado, we don't do mountaintop mining. So, yes, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Congressman. I can't believe you.
Call me Cory, please. Or whatever other choice word.
Well, I just wanted to know, I don't know about in D.C. and Congress, but I hear this great sucking sound that Ross Perot used to talk about. I work for a company that has 90,000 employees, and every year that shrinks to being a smaller amount of Americans who get laid off and more overseas. Right now, I need to be trained to learn some new technology, and they're training people in Vietnam, and I'm really scared, and I want to know what you're going to do to keep, so that I can keep paying Colorado taxes rather than become a ward of your state.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that goes back to a pretty fundamental thing. We need more taxpayers in this country, not higher taxes in this country. And by helping people create jobs and opportunity, we will make sure that we achieve what you want. So what can we do about it? We can make sure that we have regulations that promote local business. Yeah, I got a phone call from a businessman in Denver, and he said his #1 competitor just went overseas to take advantage of some of the lower taxes that they had overseas. And so he, what? Hang on. And there may have been a number of reasons why he did that. But the fact of the matter is, he was left then with a choice. Does he go over there, or does he stay here knowing that he can no longer compete? And so how do we create a business environment? We need to create a business environment that actually starts creating American jobs. We do it with energy. The Jobs and Energy Permitting Act will create 54,000 jobs, high-paying jobs right here in this country. Well, then we need to make sure that your business is successful. We need to make sure that you're
successful. Training those Vietnamese.
So what should I do? I don't see any.
Well, and then what's great about our country.
Be subsidized to take jobs overseas. If you think that's okay, that's fine. We'll
They just pay for 2 weeks of training every year. They quit paying for training 3 years
I'm not
ago.
holding my
They're
breath.
training 2 weeks. They're giving these people technology. They're giving them what I want to know, and I don't have time to learn.
And they get tax incentives to do it.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, to go back to the question, If that company can succeed, then I would hope that they would share with their success with you. If they are not, maybe that's not a great company to work for.
Mr. Garnder.
Yes, yes, sir.
A good citizen across the hall. Why are you exporting American jobs and then turn around and give these companies a tax credit for it? Thank you.
And that's why we came up with the ideas on the bills, the list of bills that you see, to create American jobs, to make sure that we are creating those jobs right here.
The question was the tax credit, Mr. Gardner.
Well, I'd have to look at what tax credit you're talking about. So happy to get the information to some folks in the back. So thank you, Ed.
Cory, thank you. The IRS reported in 2008 that the top 5% of income earners paid 59% of the tax. The bottom 50% paid 2.7% of the collected income tax. It's not a tax problem, it's a spending problem. I salute you for staying constitutional and with the majority of people who've sent you to Washington to keep your finger on the spending. One other thing, if we want more jobs in America, all we got to do is reduce the corporate income tax rate from 35% to the 11% that the rest of the
Step back again. And when people present these different ideas, sometimes the same thing happens in Congress. Yes.
Hi, I'm Dolores Williams. Thank you for coming and listening to us. 50,000 factories went overseas during the Bush administration, and they were given tax credits to move. You know, it's a business expense to go over there. 50,000 factories went overseas, and we've got to bring them back. Small businesses have not been able to keep up. So we need tariffs. We need to stop. When we have federal money to spend, please, it's got to be spent here, and that will require factories to come back here, because we can't buy China, etc. The only way to get factories back here are for the federal government to have a rule that you cannot buy and take our money overseas. Thank you. What will you do about it?
Sure. Yeah, and I believe in the free market. And that if you increase tariffs, then it will have negative effects on any other number of goods in the market. If you look at some of the actions that Russia, China, other nations have taken, whether it's a tariff on some products, there's been many trade issues that a tariff was placed on one product and something completely unrelated to it as a retaliation, tariffs were placed on the other products by the other nation. And so I think that the way we help consumers in this country is by having choice and making sure that we have a number of opportunities to go out and seek those goods that we want for ourselves or our families. And that means that we have to rely on a free market. Now, the other thing that I think we've got to do is to make sure that our business environment in this country is conducive to creating jobs. Because we can't dictate to there's $2 trillion worth of capital that's sitting on the bankrolls of businesses around this country right now. And it's sitting there, and they're not investing it in this country creating jobs. Why? Because they don't know what's going to happen here with the policies of this nation over the next several years. And so they're holding on to that money and they're not spending it. And so how can we make sure that our regulatory environment, our energy policies are such that they say, you know what, let's do business here, because I believe, as you believe, this is the best country on the face of this earth. And when we can make it happen for them, they'll create those jobs here. They won't go overseas. Yes, sir.
Congressman, I really came without the intention of asking a question, but I'm amazed that no one has addressed an issue that's in the news constantly, and that's the 30 SEALs who recently lost their lives in our 3 wars. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not Bush's, but Obama's in Libya right now at $1 million a cruise missile. What is Congress's responsibility in these 3 wars, and what's your position?
And I believe we need to make sure that we are finding a way to get out of Afghanistan, that we are finding our way to finish in Iraq. We have to do it responsibly. We have to make sure that we're not jeopardizing our men and women in uniform. And my heart goes out and my prayers, and I know every person in this room's heart goes out to the families of those soldiers that were killed in that chopper. Sailors. We got a Navy guy. Where's he at? There he is. But I mean, so the SEAL Team 6, the people who were on that chopper. I mean, my heart goes out to them. And that we owe our obligation is to make sure that they have the resources they need to finish and do their job. But we've got to, as Congress, make sure that we are looking at the end game and saying, all right, how do we do this responsibly to protect our country and to protect the interests of our men and women in uniform? When it comes to Libya, I have voted to end the action in Libya because I have yet to receive the justification. Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Congressman Garnder. I want to commend you for conducting this meeting in a very courteous and careful fashion. It's obviously been watered with a lot of extreme opinions. And you have the courage and forthrightness to stand up and talk to every citizen that comes to your town hall and usher us in groups of 20 with
Get to the point, Senator.
I appreciate that. It's not a question, it's not a comment, it's a commendation. Keep it up and do it.
My husband and I are owners of a small business, and you keep talking about creating jobs. Well, as a small business, unless I have a demand for the service that we provide, it's not going to create any more jobs. We're not going to hire any more people. Why do you think that just giving tax breaks and things and that big corporations, it isn't corporations that create the jobs, it's the demand for either the product or the service. And why corporations that create jobs? It's the demand, and unless people in this room demand their service or their product, it's not going to create jobs. Absolutely. We need to create jobs through getting back lower taxes for the corporations. I mean, why give them all the breaks? They're not spending that money on us or on other things. They're holding on to it. If we had the money, we would spend it because we have to for food and products and cars and other things. It's the demand that creates the job, not corporations.
And the majority of our job creators are small businesses. That's the majority of our job creators are small businesses. And so how do we create demand? Demand, people don't just come up with demand. They don't wake up one morning and say, I demand. They have to have good jobs. We got to create jobs. Where do those jobs come from? It's the ability for employers to hire new people or an individual to create their own job.
They won't create a job.
There's a great business in Fort Collins. There's a great business in Fort Collins where somebody actually came up. He walked in. He had one of his managers of one of his restaurants come in, and he saw her wearing. I think this was in the paper, Bob, a couple of weeks ago, and it was she was wearing a little feather in her hair. And he said, "Wow, that's kind of neat. Where'd you get that?" And she explained it to him, and she told him. He says, "You know, you think that's going to take off? Is that a popular trend?" And she said, "Well, I don't know." And so he did the research on it. He went and did a whole bunch of research trying to decide whether or not that was something that he should look into. And how many people fly fish in here? Have you been to the fly store lately and seen the price of a fishing fly? Expensive. All right. Well, he figured out that if you could buy these feathers and sell them to people, he could buy them for pennies on the dollar, turn around and sell them for $1 or $2, and he could make a strong business. That's the innovation and entrepreneurship that this country was built upon. That created jobs, and the people who want that decided because they wanted to buy his good. He's creating jobs. They're happy. And how do we make sure that we have a nation of job creators? I am concerned. Excuse me. I am concerned that this government is too concerned making regulations that destroy jobs, and I don't think that's what we are. Let's look at the question right here, and this is the last question. But let me just say this. If you have a question, please contact the folks in the back, and we'll try to get the questions answered as soon as we can. Yes, sir.
Okay, I don't have a question. I got a statement about a word that I don't like, referring to Social Security and Medicare, and that's entitlement.
Yes.
I've been working over 50 years. I'm 69, so I started when I was 15. And nobody asked me if I wanted to participate in these. So I'm going to tell you what an entitlement is. It's the lifelong benefits we give Congress and senators. It's the benefits we give the illegal aliens. And it's the benefits we give these crooked nations that turn around and shoot at us and kill our children because we send them over there and give them rules of engagement. Those are entitlements.
Absolutely.
And one more, I got a quote from my wife to tell your boss, the Speaker of the House, congratulations, you moron, you just put Obama in for 4 more years.
Well, anyway, I want to thank everybody for being here, and thank you very much for your participation and engagement today. Thanks. Thank you.